escuchando, ¿no?
Simplemente voy a tu
canal y
ya está, ¿no?
I think we are live. I think we are live. But I think we are live. But I think we are live.
Live now.
Mentor Talks number one.
You're live, right? Okay, so let's just wait for more people to come in. Let's just wait for.
Va un poco atrasado.
Yeah.
Live now.
Va un poco atrasado.
It's a little bit late. Live's going late.
Just wait for more people to come
It's a little bit.
Okay, great. It's working fine, so I'm not gonna be watching on YouTube. Oh, I have to be watching on YouTube because I have to catch the watching on YouTube comments.
Okay. Well, let me
know if I have to do something. Okay.
No,
I think right now it's working well.
We have 3 people ready. I think you and I are 2. We have 3 people ready.
So everything.
So everything for this third. Now just you and I. Yeah.
No, not the mini player. Oh, YouTube and it's not the mini player. Thanks. Oh, YouTube and it's. Okay. I'm here. Oh, use headphones. Okay, Felipe, thanks. Better now? Jordi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Felipe, since you're the first one here, thanks for coming first.
Hello,
I think it
Felipe.
was your birthday yesterday, right? So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Way better. Okay, great. You can hear us both, right? Okay, great. You can hear us both, right? Still double sounds. That's weird. Let me see. Oh, okay, got it. Echo sound. Okay, I think it's better now. So I'm just broadcasting in one source now. So I think it's better now. Yes, perfect. Thank you, Felipe. 5 people watching now. I prepared my tea already. Jordi, you have your water there, or what?
Yes, I have my water. And my Google Translate some words, so hopefully everybody can understand.
Yeah, everybody will understand. If you don't understand anything we say, Jordi and I are not English, not our first language. So just say, I didn't understand that, and we will hopefully repeat or rephrase our ideas. So it's our o'clock for me.
For me, it's 10:55, or it is what my Mac says. But when you want, we can start. For me, I schedule this time for the people. That can be easy.
I don't understand why. Maybe now better? Jordi, say something, please.
Hello, everything okay? Still in echo? What does it mean? Maybe I can let me see if disconnecting the earphones.
No. I don't think it's the earphones.
Does it work better now? Does it work
It's better, but it's not because of the phones, Jordi. It's one settings of mine here. I don't think it's with you. Probably, if you want to put the earphones, you can put the earphones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Use the earphones.
Yeah, you can put the earphones. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start this. Let us know if there's any other. Still echo? Still echo. Still echo.
Maybe our voices are not.
Maybe now?
Ready for the technology.
Yeah, maybe now.
Hello, Felipe. Now better?
Jordi, talk.
Hello.
Let's see if it's better now. Perfect. Okay, it's perfect now. Okay, yeah? So I found the settings here. Thank you you guys for your patience and for your help.
Yeah.
So let's start with this, and we have some pinpoints we're gonna talk about today. And you can see here in the top of the screen, this is Mentor Talks number 1, which means that we're going to do more of those. So because we like to talk, and I think we have some. Yeah, Felipe, let's talk about the beauty of the game, exactly. And we like to talk, and we have a lot to talk. So if people want to listen to us, we're here to talk. So there's no need to do only one. So we have time. We have all the time in the world to do more and more and more. So first thing, let me introduce Jordi to you guys. And about introducing someone, I'll introduce Jordi on my perspective, but then I'll let Jordi introduce himself on his perspective, because I think we know better about a person when we let them talk to us who they are, right? Because we see their perspective on themselves. So first, my perspective, Jordi is, the first word I would use for Jordi is my mentor, because I learned lots of things, and not only soccer with him. I learned lots of responsibility on the field, responsibility with the public, with the brand, with a numerous group of people. Well, lots of things. So Jordi to me is a mentor that we met back in Brazil in 2013, right? And he came from
São Paulo?
Exactly, in São Paulo. He came from FCB Escola to lecture us here on the FC Barcelona methodology and philosophy into what FCB by the date called FCB Coach Clinic, right? So a coach clinic, a course for coaches, where FCB taught the FCB Escola way, nowadays it's called Barça Academy. And we met there, and we connected very well since the beginning. And I think I saw in Jordi lots of knowledge that I wanted to consume, and eager to show, to impart that knowledge to people, and to teach that knowledge to people in a very smart way to do that, which I used myself to learn a lot from him. And I think he saw in me too someone with an eager to learn and to get better, and to put in practice everything that he was teaching us there. So after this first week, we spent together in São Paulo, began our big journey as mentor and mentee that would lead then to the friendship we have today, right? And it was 2.5 years, 2 years in FCB Escola, being mentored by Jordi, me, and other 30 coaches. And after that, we always stayed in touch. Again, we are friends now, and he still teaches me a lot. We exchange knowledge on things. We discuss lots about the game and get to conclusions, one and the other, that one didn't think about and the other did, and make questions important for each other. So I learned a lot from him. So Jordi is a person that loves the game for the game, not because someone told him to love the game. I think he likes the game because of the beauty of it, because of the beauty involved in training, in executing the tasks, in commanding the tasks of a team, and executing what the game calls us to execute, right? But again, it's just my perspective. Please, Jordi, introduce yourself as you think you should, because I think it's the most accurate version of your introduction.
Okay, well, so I'll start saying that I'm a person like everybody that is here. I started with football because of, in my case, circumstances. I was born in Barcelona. Football there is the main sport, and my family is a football family or soccer family. My father played in the youth of Barça Academy. My grandfather also played soccer or football for us. And when I was a boy, I decided that I wanted to play football. I pushed my parents because they wanted to register me in another sport called hockey, but I was a little bit impatient to play football. Finally, we went to the club. I started playing there. I played first in my town. Then I was one of the best players in my age. In my town, it's around 15 to 20 minutes from Barcelona, and I was signed by one of the best clubs in the youth in Catalonia. I went there. I was 4 years there. I learned other things that I wouldn't have learned in my town, in the team of my town. I competed against Barcelona, against Espanyol, against the biggest clubs here in the region. And then when I was 18, I went to another club. I didn't have good luck there, and finally I returned to my town, to my first club, but playing with adults. I was still young, but I was playing with the adults. And the sports director of youth asked me if I wanted to be the coach of one of the teams, and I said, okay, I will start training. And I started training the generation of players born in 1992. That was my first generation. Nowadays I think they are 26, 27. Some of them are my friends still nowadays, because nowadays they are men. And well, I discovered a new world. It's not the same to train as a player as to train as a coach. And I started doing what I knew. That what I knew was what I had learned from my coaches. Okay, nobody taught me when I started. And it looks like I did pretty good, because one of the best clubs at that time, that was called Gramenet, that was competing against Barça, Espanyol, and then in tournaments against other big clubs from Spain. And I went there, and I had the good luck to arrive in a place where everything was thought in the right way. In my opinion, I learned a lot. I arrived next to a person that is my mentor. Also, as Dimitri said, that I am his mentor, and now we are friends. He is now my friend and also my mentor, and not only in football or in soccer, also I use him in other parts of my life. And there I grew as a coach. I discovered a new paradigm, better players. Everything was more competitive. I also learned how to manage groups, how to manage parents, how to have a more complete picture of what player development is about. And well, I think I was 5 years there, 5 years that were, I would say, the best years in my life as a coach. I had the honor of training very good players. Some of them are professionals nowadays. I had the pleasure to compete. Obviously, my players were the ones that played, but me to be the coach of players that were competing against players that nowadays are internationals. For example, Dani Olmo, that was signed nowadays from Dinamo Zagreb to Red Bull Leipzig, Carles Aleñá, that now is in Betis, loaned by Barça, Cucurella, and all the players that nowadays are in second division or are arriving, or Sergio Gomez, that is in West Ham second division, loaned from Dortmund. I had that luck to play against teams that were top teams, that were also coached by very good coaches, and it forced me to be better. At the same time, I was in a club, as I said, that for me was perfect. My roommates, let's say, all the coaches, we all had a very good relationship between all of us, and it helped me to grow. I learned from everybody. We had a leader that was my mentor, I would say our mentor, and I learned a lot. After that, the economic crisis arrived to Spain, 2008, 2009. The club was a professional club at that moment. And well, it was in second division B, with options usually to promote to second division A, playing against Barça B, Espanyol B, Villarreal B. And when the crisis arrived, the club, let's say that went to bankrupt, and we all left the club. The club, let's say, that disappeared, and well, we started training in other places. I went to one of the best clubs in the region, again in Catalonia, where I was also competing against the same teams that I was competing in my previous club. And then even I had the pleasure to beat, not me, my team, or me as a coach of my team, against FC Barcelona in Joan Gamper Sports City, against generation of players born in 1999. And in the half of the season, I think it was January, more or less, I received a phone call from one of my friends, also a mentor in other aspects, also related with football, but not in coaching. That was the sports director of FCB Schola, nowadays FCB Academy. He had been the coach of my brother. I have a brother. Nowadays he's a second coach of, I think here in the US you would say under 13.
Yep, under 13, yeah.
Of FC Barcelona Academy there in La Masia. Mm-hmm. And he's younger than me. He's 24. That time when he was his coach, or he had been his coach when he was 10, I guess, and then again when he was 16. And he called me if I wanted to go with them. It was not in terms of competitivity the same as I was. It was less competitive at that moment, FCB Schola or FCB Academy, than the Catalan Federation, where I was training with that club that I said that I had the good luck to beat Barça. But I thought that it would be good to be linked to FC Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And for me, the most important is that I could be working in a place that was being directed by someone that is serious. And this is something that I've learned in football, that it's not common. There's a lot of people that talks a lot. There's a lot of people that that has the theory, but then to apply all that knowledge, for me, that's the toughest part. And I knew that with Isaac, his name is Isaac Guerrero. Nowadays, he's the director of methodology in La Masia in Barcelona. He is also, I think, director of Barça Hub, like the university that they are creating or something like that. And he's also the director. And at that moment, he wasn't, let's say, so important in terms of position as he is nowadays, but he's the same person and continues being the same person, and is mentor in some part and friend of everything. And I went there, and after 2 years, he bet on me to go to Brazil to start the academy that the club wanted to open there. And I decided that it would be a good thing for me. And there is where Dimitri and I met. And the most important for me there is that I could prove to myself that I was ready to do bigger things. Okay, I was in another country. I'm native in Catalan and in Spanish, and Portuguese is a big mix of both languages. But when I arrived there, I couldn't understand anything, and it was hard for me. Then the culture were so different, and but there I discovered that I had a big knowledge. That I understood that I had that knowledge and that comprehension of what I had to do, because I had been previously 5 years with Modesto, that is the name of my main mentor in terms of football, and it allowed me to be able to develop the project that we developed together, obviously with all the people that work with me. And Dimitri was, I would say, the most important for me there. As he said before, the first time that we met was in Sao Paulo, and I've said him many times that I was teaching about the methodology, and he was in the first row, and I remember him with a face of interest, and I remember I was speaking in Spanish to people that probably didn't understand anything of Spanish, but I was seeing somebody there that really wanted to learn. Then I remember that after the first weekend, where once we finished the coach clinic, we developed a camp. We ran a camp, and he was one of the coaches that we had. And Brazilians, they have their behavior, and Catalans or Jordi Blanco, I have my own behavior. I'm so intense coaching, and they are different, and let's say different, or more calm, or maybe shy, I don't know. But imagine I was there commanding a camp where the coaches, they didn't know what they had to do. They didn't know how to train in the way that they had to be training, because we were selling a Barça camp, and it was an official Barça camp, and I was the responsible, and I was so nervous. I used to go to each group. I think, if I don't remember wrong, we had 6 groups of six teams of different ages, no? 6 groups of different ages.
Yes.
And when I used to go there, I was so intense, and I realized that Dimitri tried to imitate my way to communicate with the player. Maybe at that point he didn't know what he was correcting. Obviously, he was like studying. Let's say that he was studying,
yep.
But he tried like to model me or copy me. And I remember that was another Brazilian there that had been working in Barça Academy too, and he said, "Jordi, but this is not the philosophy of Barça." I said, "Listen, forget about everything. Leave him doing what he's doing, because I'm not having problems there."
Yeah,
okay, for me, I'm not having problems. And well, then when I went back to everything finished, the week, I think it was a positive week for everybody, also for me. And I went to Rio, and I think we started the academy, the school, maybe 1 month later.
Yeah.
And I didn't know because I didn't prepare. I had to stay in a hospital for 11 nights before going to Brazil. I had a health problem, and I didn't choose the coaches. Okay, it was another guy from Barcelona, was an ex-captain of first team, Moratalla, that went there in substitution of me because I couldn't go to choose the coaches, and Dimitri was there. And I think that it was something natural, probably because of the interest that he had in the things that I used to say, the corrections that I used to do, let's say the lack of ego to understand my way to communicate, because it was...
Actually, Jordi, I think
Yes.
I was the only one coach that you could choose, because I was the one coach you chose. You asked me to join the FCB Scholar Rio after that week in São Paulo. You asked me if I lived in Rio, me and Yuri, I guess. And you asked us and you chose me. I think we were the ones you chose.
And Julio.
And Julio, I guess, yes.
It's true,
yes.
it's true.
Yeah.
You're right. And Julio too, it's true. You three. Okay, so well, thank you for the point. I think it was important. And then we started in Rio, and soon I saw that Dimitri was different of the rest. He was a person that really wanted to get my knowledge. That's what I felt. And I think at the end of the first year, or that was half of the year, because the seasons in Brazil work different as seasons in the United States or in Spain or in the Eastern Europe, when I'm developing my work nowadays. So at the end of the first half, that was after around 5-6 months in Rio, we decided that we had to open a second center in the city, because Rio is so big, and we had to open a second location. And I decided that Dimitri could be. I was needing another person. I could be at the same time in both places. I was managing the one of the locations, and I was needing another person to be there when I was not able to be there, because I couldn't split myself in two. And I spoke. I remember one day that he drove to my apartment, and I said, "Hey, let's talk a little bit. I would like to talk with you." And I made the proposal to him, and he accepted. And when that is when we started working, not just as, let's say, boss and an employee, or sports director and coach, that it were the two positions where we were. It was different. Now it was the same, but I had to trust in him to manage a group of coaches. So I had to pass him another kind of knowledge that I had, how to manage situations with coaches, how to manage situations with parents, how to be sure that what you did, Dimitri, I think it was a couple of weekends ago, when you explained it, how to put the players to listen to coach. I had to get that everything would work in the same way as it was working in the other location, because some of the players that were in that new location were players that previously had been in the other locations, but now they moved to the other one that was near their house. Well, I had to teach him many things. I remember answering parents, putting him in copy so he could understand the philosophy that was behind that answer, because sometimes you as coaches, everybody that is listening us now, that probably most of you are coaches, and when you don't correct in the same way to all the players of your team, because there are some of them that needs to be pushed more because they like to be pushed more. There are others that are a little bit more calm, and you need to approach them in a different way. But you know inside you why you are doing most of the things that you are doing. In my case, it was the same, but he didn't know. We came from different cultures. So I tried to teach him in that way. Dimitri understood everything. He wanted to get that knowledge. I think that's the most important thing that he had, and I think he still has, is that he wants to learn. And it was so good for him, for me, for the school, for everything. And then once the main location grew to the point that I even couldn't be alone, or I wanted to develop more things inside that school, like the selections and everything. Since he was working so well in that small location, I made the movement to start with another, let's say, coordinator to that small location and transfer Dimitri from the small location to the big one. And that is where our relationship that had already been developed during all that time and even previously. And when I was able to pass all the knowledge, not just in how to train, that yes, of course, we were together, and that was the main point, mostly at the beginning, but also how to manage situations, how to detect the players, how to think not just in the performance of the player now, how to imagine a little bit that player in some years, because my experience in that club that I've said before, that I was 5 years, allowed me to see how players that maybe with 10, 11 years have some the performance that they have, how that performance evolves depending on the qualities that they have. That, in my opinion, that's very important. You as coaches, you need knowledge, you need skills to pass the knowledge, to motivate, but at the end, you depend on your players. And you need to know what those players, the good things that all the things that your players, depending on how you want to play, need to have. And well, after that, after 2 years there, I went to United States. I developed a project, or I created a project. I had, I don't know if I have to say good luck, but there was a big piece of luck. I got good investment from Brazilian investors, and I went to the US and I started an academy that finally, I think we had 6 centers. One was in Denver, then the other in Houston, San Antonio, Boca Raton, that is a city in Florida, Dallas, and Colorado Springs, that is 1 hour south of Denver. And
Palo Alto also.
Good things. Also, we made big mistakes, but it helped me to learn things that I didn't know before. I also had the option to introduce new models of programs, of soccer programs in the US, like the World of the Goalies. Then also some international camps, bringing players from FC Barcelona, from Espanyol, from DAM, that is a very good club there in Catalonia. One of those players nowadays that was in DAM is nowadays in Real Madrid. Some coaches from Barcelona, goalkeepers, but I think it was something so different, maybe impossible to scale, okay, and that was one of my main learnings, but I think it was so good. After that, I had some issues with my business partner, and I had to leave the company. I sold my shares, and I decided to go to the east of Europe to be with me 1 year. That was this last year, 2019. I decided to go to Slovenia, and I was there. I started collaborating, everything in a natural way. I was not looking to do that, but it happened. It's a small country, and for you or for the people of the US, foreigners in your country is something common, but for Slovenians it isn't. And they asked me to help them. I started helping them. Then I knew people in Croatia, and this is where I am now. Well, now I'm in Denver, but because of the situation of coronavirus. But once I'm back, I will go back to the Eastern Europe. And I think that always when you go to different places, you have to learn things, okay? And figure, and now it's something that Dimitri, we didn't talk about that, but
no problem.
I think I told you when I went to Slovenia, one of the things that I decided that I was going to try was to become like a player agent, okay, to help my players, young players that were arriving, that I coached when they were young, and that they were good, but that I knew that they were needing the support, and I decided that I would explore that possibility. And the first thing that I did, because I was in a new world, in a new country, I didn't know how those things were going to work, and I called one of, let's say, that are also my mentors, Roberto Fernandez, that was former Barça sports director of the main team. He signed Coutinho, he signed Umtiti, and Lenglet, those players before Abidal. And we met many years ago when he was working in an agency, a big agency in Spain, and we were together like 1 year and a half. And I learned a lot from him, how to see players from 15 to the future, okay? Previously, what I could teach Dimitri was players from 10, 11 to 14, 15. With him, I had the good luck to learn from 14, 15, 16 up. And I called him, look, I'm going to explore this possibility. And, well, we had some conversations, and he gave me some tips. We said to meet when it would be possible. At that point, it was not easy because he was working for television. He had already left Barca maybe 5-6 months before, but those conversations weren't so good. And then when I arrived to Slovenia, I detected a person that I saw that was different there, that was involved in the football of the region, not only in Slovenia, also in the Yugoslavia. And one day I went to talk with him, and I asked him that I wanted, obviously, if he accepted, that he was my mentor, that I had time, I had the aim, I had the energy, that I said, look, I will be your eyes. If you want to send me any day to any part of the country to see players or to watch a game, give a report to you, I will do. I just want you to teach me how to work in this new world for me. And I did it because I understood in Brazil the importance of the knowledge that a person that has already done that thing, or that has been very close to where you want to go, that power for me, or that knowledge is basic to succeed in the world of anything. And this is my story, and I'm happy that Dimitri has taught me to be here. And if this talk can be useful or a little bit to all of you to understand whatever you have to understand, I will be happy. And before continuing, I also want to congratulate you, Dimitri, for this work that you are doing. I think that it's being very well done, and I feel it like a part of me, because I know that what you are teaching is
what you taught me.
many things.
what you taught us. What you taught us all.
I'm feeling happy about that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jordi. Thanks for that introduction. And I got a lot from that introduction that I would like to mention before we answer Felipe's question, because I think it's a great question to the beginning of our conversation. But the notes I took while you were talking is you said when you were in Rio and you had to coordinate everything and direct the Barca project in Rio, which was one of the biggest FCB Escolas in the world, if not the biggest, right? I think it
was, yeah.
It was the biggest, right? And you were the thinking head of it, and you said right now, I found out I had this knowledge and I could execute it. That means that you had Isaac send you here, And then here you found that you had the knowledge. So you had someone that trusted in you, right? And sent you to a place of more responsibility where this knowledge that you didn't know you have could flourish into the execution of the project, right? And then after that, you said, Modesto, my main mentor. And this is very important because we don't have only one mentor, right? We are always seeking new mentors. And it's exactly what you said now about Slovenia or Croatia. Once you've been mentored, you've been a mentor to others, it's automatic in your head that now whenever you're trying to learn something new or a new area in the world where you want to control the market or anything, you're always looking for someone that knows better than you so you can learn from them, because it's the fastest and easiest step, right? It's like, oh, why would I lose my time here, wasting my time going online on blah 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 blah, if I can find the guy that does it, call him and say, hey, I want to learn from you, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's very important that people understand that once you've been mentored and you've been a mentor, now this is the process that you're always going through in your life, because you've seen the power of it. You've seen how much you learn from your mentors and how much your mentees learn from you, and you say, why would I do anything else, right?
Exactly. No, and let me say one thing. I think when, for example, who was my first mentor, and probably the basis of my knowledge in the world and how I understand the world is my father or my mother when we started. But we cannot choose who is our father and who is our mother. For example, my father, when I remember, I don't know, 10 years ago, when I was 27, now I'm 37, I understood the world in some ways, okay, that nowadays I understand different, okay, because nowadays I'm more free. I have the personality to understand that there are other ways to think, that I don't have why to think in the same way that my father does. But when you are young, you learn from your father or your mother or your teachers, and you cannot choose. And now, when you can choose, but it's hard because you are a boy. But once we start being adults, or once we are adults, or once we wake up, no, and we understand that we have the power to decide, I think that it's powerful. We have power to decide who are the people that we want to learn from, okay? And this is something that I've learned, and this is something that I am applying, okay? Because you can learn many things, but if you don't apply, and I learn things that I don't apply, but this is one thing that I apply. If I go somewhere, if I want to do something, I have to look for somebody that has already done that thing, or that is close to achieve that thing, has been near to achieve that things that I want to achieve.
Exactly. That's exactly the message I'm trying to send to everyone who follows me. That it doesn't need to be me, your mentor, but to find a mentor is important. Find someone that coaches the way you'd like to coach. Find their results, see what they're doing, and think, oh, I want to coach like that guy. And ask him to coach you, to be your mentor. That's it. So learn from him instead of being here wasting your time in internet looking for things that don't work, right? So let's jump to the first question here. We have a guideline here to our topics, right? But I think this question is very good from Felipe. He asked to you, Jordi, how do you adapt yourself to a completely different cultural reality? For example, Spain and Brazil, where in Spain the game is based on space and time and positional play, and Brazilians are more me ball, are more centered on the ball, are more dribblers and individualistic, right?
Well, there is one thing here that you have to understand. I went to Brazil, I went to Rio to implement one thing, and I had to implement that thing. And the truth is that I couldn't have implemented another thing because my my basis of football were the ones that I went there to implement. Okay, and I think that the answer to your question, Felipe, yes, Felipe, is to have clear what you want to do. You need to have clear what you want to do. And when the problems appear, and many problems appear, I remember at the beginning the main problem were the coaches that we started, I think, with 273 players or 75 players, and the coaches didn't know how to coach. And you don't teach a coach in 1 week.
Exactly.
You need time to teach a coach, and the coach needs time to understand that you are there to teach him, that we both are in the same ship, okay, and that the success, their success is my success, and my success is their success, and it's not just 1v1. That me and Dimitri is me and Thiago, me and Octavio, me and all of them, okay, different ages, so the different
backgrounds,
comprehensions of life,
ex-players, right? Former
ex-players,
professional players, etc.
They were so good, and well, and probably they were, or for sure they were, but they had to learn in a different way how to coach in a different way, okay, exactly. Different cultures. So to have things clear, because you have this issue, then you have the parents, then you have that the surface of the field is different, then the cultural aspects as arriving on time or not arriving on time. When it rains, we don't go. Something that in Spain, it rains, you train only when there's a heel, you stop. If not, you train. Yeah. In the US, for example, I understood that the lights, the lightning there's a thunder, is something that. Well, but if you have clear things and you know where you have to go, and you have the knowledge of what you are trying to do, you explain to the people when you have the complaints. You explain, and you explain from a position of confidence. You know what you are doing, you are sure, so you explain. Then, usually, if you explain well, people understand and accept and gives you a little bit of time. Obviously, then things have to evolve better to the better, or have to improve. But usually you have that time. Then there's also people, and I would say few people, that they don't agree, and they don't understand, they don't want to understand, or they just want to feel good complaining. I don't know, but there's people that won't buy your explanation. Well, at the end of everything, you have to say, or is what I did. This is why we are doing this. I know that we are still implementing. I know that we still need time. I'm sure that things will go well. I see that things have already improved a little bit, and I know that things will go better. But we need a little bit of time, and we need time. We are people. We are not pushing a button and now we are talking. No. We have to learn. If you believe me, I thank you for believing me, and I'm sure that things will go well. If after 1 month, month and a half, things haven't improved, or you think that it's not worth it for your son or your daughter, no problem. I promise you that we will give you the money back and you will be able to live. Okay? And if you don't want to wait, listen, it's better that we don't continue our relationship. You can go to another academy where you think that things will be better for your son or daughter. I think it's to have things clear and to go to work, to be honest or not honest, that with people explain what you think, and then you will have there will always be someone or some people that they don't want to understand, or they simply feel different or think different, and we have to accept that. Exactly. I think this is good for them.
Exactly. Let me just explain a little bit to Felipe and to everyone listening to us how exactly that process that you are explaining right now occurred, how it happened. So the school started, and we had like I think it was 220 something, 230 something kids, but
No,
270,
273.
73.
That number.
Okay, you remember that
I
number,
think,
right?
I think it was. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that was the number.
273, and we had like let's say 20 coaches or 15 to 20 coaches, something like that on the beginning. And we had 1 hour for training, right? Or 1 hour and 15 minutes, I guess 1 hour in the beginning, from 9 to 10 in the morning, for example, right? And the big field was divided in 6 fields, right? So 6 teams training in the big fields and 2 teams training in the small field, right? Correct? Right? Yeah. 8 teams training at the same time. And Jordi, in the beginning, where the coaches didn't know the philosophy, had to go field by field, watching, observing what the coaches are doing and correcting them live in place. That means the exercise is going and the coach is saying something that he shouldn't be saying in front of other parents. Exactly. In front of the parents, in front of the kids, in front of everyone. He had to correct, to lead the school to where it should be going. So he had to stop and teach the coach and the kids and the parents who were listening outside about everything that he was teaching. And then after the training session ended, we went into a room with you, right, Jordi? And then we had a whole theory feedback where you had written down everything we did in training. For example, Dimitri didn't have his balls around him. He took too long to put a ball back into the exercise, or he didn't correct body orientation in that, or kids were looking somewhere else, or you were facing the sun, or whatever, right? And then after the session, you spent like 1 hour and a half, 2 hours with us, just teaching us again and talking about it again and explaining why the things happen that way, right? So just people understand that it's not a one-day thing, it's not a one-week thing, no. And it's not that easy. And it's not like flowers and stuff. For example, I remember one day, you correct me on something, and I don't remember exactly what. Maybe you remember. And I went home a little angry, right? And you said you were a little.
And then you sent me a message.
Exactly.
You were right.
Exactly. So the process of being mentored is going to involve situations like that, where the mentor has to intervene on the mentee and say, dude, this is not like that because of that, and that. And there are points that you have to be really rigid, right? Like, this is not that way, period. Because of that, you need to understand this right now, right? There are other things that you can adjust, etc., at your time, but there are things that have to change right now. And because we are people, we have ego, we have everything that we have. I went home a little, but then I calmed myself, I thought a little better, and I found out that you were right. And I gave turns and turns and turns in my head about what you said, and I was like, oh yeah, he's right. And then I send you a message. Sorry, thank you for that knowledge today. I learned a lot from this. I learned that. And the next day, you come up, you get out of bed, and you try again, your best again, and your mind is now bigger because you thought, okay, I overcame my ego in that situation. I learned that, and now I'm more open to learn more things from that guy that taught me that worked.
Exactly.
Right?
I remember another example. That time you were like a little bit angry. I remember, not in a bad mood, but you were not happy. And it was the same day, I think maybe 4 or 5 hours later that you sent me the message.
Yeah.
But I remember another time when we were talking about taking space dribbling, remember?
Yep.
That I said, okay, if you don't want to, because you had at that moment another opinion. Yeah. If you don't want, if you don't like it, perfect. The day that I play against you, I will beat you 3-0. Remember that I said something like that?
Yeah.
And 1 month later, one day, or you called me or you sent me a message, my friend, or amigo, no, my friend, you were right now. I understand what you said, and you are right. It's not necessary that you could still nowadays think different.
Yeah,
but
and I tell you,
1 month later, so sometimes that comprehension of what your mentor is trying to pass you doesn't happen that day, and then you don't have to agree. Sometimes you think different, and hey, nothing happens. Okay, you know how he thinks, and it makes you more complete because you have two ways or three ways to understand a situation, and it gives you more chances to resolve any problem you might have related with that situation.
Exactly. The importance too, as you're saying, of the confidence the mentor shows the mentee to trust the mentee in his own responsibility of developing his own knowledge, right? Look, I'm telling you this because on my experience, you as the mentor, right? On my experience, this worked for that helped me with those situations, dribbling to the space. I see that I move the opponents, I gather them together around, I can fix an opponent, I can generate 2v1s, etc. By the time I didn't see that, and you said, okay, if you can show me through your game that you can do that without it, no problem. That's great, right? That's awesome. And then 1 month later, I told you I cannot see that way. I see the way you see. It makes total sense now. And that's the learning process everyone has, right? Let me see another question here. I think that's an interesting question. Aaron is asking you about when you got to Rio and when you got to the US. What are the 5 do's and the 5 don'ts of starting an academy in a new country after your experience? Try to approach this into a mentor perspective of coaches and of parents, of players, right? The 5 things to do and the 5 things to do not.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Aaron, for the question. And I think it's a very important question. The first thing is to go to the country. To go to the country to stay there for, I don't know, if you want to open a soccer academy, let's say in Denver or in Rio, okay? The 2 places where I started. First go there, stay, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, okay? Invest money in being there, in the hotel, in the flight, in the food. If you have to invite people to know, ask to people and invest. First, invest in time and in the knowledge of where you are going to go, okay? After that knowledge, okay, once you know that, go back to your house and the same project or the same thought that you had, rethink that 2 or 3 times through your new perspective. No, now you will have a new perspective and rethink what you want to do. Okay, and then when you, if you can do it another time, okay, do it again. Okay, go again, couple of weeks, start looking for coaches, start talking with people, and once you start there, try to start with something small. Try. Do whatever you want, but what I would do after what I've learned, start with something small. Okay, start with something small, and then start growing in a natural way. If you do a good work, parents will come, players will come. Okay, why? Because everybody wants the best for the children. Everybody. I don't know if you're a father or not. I'm not yet, but I've been with many fathers, and there's one common thing: all of them want the best thing for their children, and that's very important. And why do I say to start small, and why do I say to go there and understand their reality? Because their realities are different. For example, the competitive, the model that we implemented in Rio, it was possible to implement in Rio, but in Catalonia, for example, you can only implement that model if you are Barcelona, FC Barcelona, because you are such a big brand that you can do that model. If not, parents won't accept that. That same model that we implemented in Rio, in Denver, is impossible to do because people want to compete in, let's say, official competitions, no? The state association, soccer association. People want to compete there. In Rio, because of the nature of that society, of that city, or of the country, of the different social, I don't know how to say what.
Status.
Rio has different societies.
Yeah.
The poor, the mid class, and the rich.
Yeah.
Let's say, no. But it's so different. Those classes are so different. Here in the US, for example, okay, there are differences, but everybody could even mix in general. Now generalization, and in the US, for example, the associations, I say that are like state associations, like a mafia. They are not like federations like we have, for example, in Spain, that federations try to help soccer grow. The state associations, okay, are like a group of clubs that want to keep their business, and the rules that they have to avoid that new competitors enter into the system are big, okay? And those things you need to know. If not, you will lose a lot of money, a lot of energy, and you will always be there, or you have success or you fail. Okay, those are the big things. That then, in terms of what to do and what not to do, I wouldn't hire, for example, coaches that they think that they are good, that they have this license, that they went there, they went that, because they are big egos. Okay, in the US and in Brazil, the biggest problems, and I didn't have big problems, but let's say in terms of the main problems or situations that we had to afford with coaches were the egos. No, I've been coaching for 15 years. Oh, no, but I've been elected the best coach of this region for 2 years. I don't know. These kind of things. I prefer, and I suggest you, if you want to open an academy, is because you understand that you have the knowledge minimum in the sports side or in the business side. If you are in the business side, you know that you have to hire minimum a good leader and then leave that leader to evolve these things. And if you are the one that has the football knowledge, it's better, my opinion, to teach coaches that are young and that they want to learn, even if they don't have any soccer background, but that you can teach in the way that you want to do the things in your academy, okay? Because the fact that they don't know and that you know, it will make them to desire your knowledge, because they will be learning, and people, when people learn, people is motivated. And I think that's another key point, okay? Then another thing that I would never do is to open new academies until I don't have the model clear where I am, or in the first place where I open. And more than the model clear, or a clear model, once I have everything running well, okay? Why? Because, for example, US is not a country. Well, it's a country, but it's like 20 countries. Even in the same state, no, in a same state, the different cities are so different. I've been in Texas, for example, Houston and Dallas are so different, but San Antonio is another world compared with Dallas. You understand? And the relationships that the community has, the city, everything is so different. So to understand where you are and what you have, and then start step by step, first with small things that the big brands don't think that you are like a threat for them. I think that's important. And then the biggest, and that advice, in my opinion, cost millions, okay, is look for a small club that is managed by people that maybe they are there because some years ago their children were playing and they were putting effort, but nowadays their children are 22, are in college, and they don't know what to do with that club. Go there, try to take over that club, and you have a club. Because if you have to start your own club and do the process, the state association and the big clubs of that association will block you. Well, I haven't said 5, but I think that because it is another topic.
Exactly.
But I think that those are the main things: information, step by step, okay. And then in terms of coaches, try to look for people that they want to grow with you, not people that they just want to go there to win an extra money. Because, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense.
Makes total sense. Your opinion, I think your answer was very precise, Jordi. Thanks. There's another question here from, I'm not sure how to say your name, Lee. I think it's Lee. It's written like Leah, right? Westlake.
Lee.
I'll read his question and then I'll make a comment and leave it to you. Okay.
Of course.
When scouting a player, what makes a player special to you? What components of that player you look for? I remember that when you were mentoring us at FCB Scola, we had those scouting, I'm not sure about the name in English, those scouting dates, right? That we received lots of players on the academy so they could try out, the tryouts, right? Tryouts. So they could try out to join FCB Scola, right? And I remember that this was also a process that you had going on with us to teach us how to recognize talent and how to recognize, I'd say more than talent, potential, right? Because sometimes the talent is not there or yet, but there is a potential in that player to be more coordinated, to evolve and to improve as a soccer player. And I remember in that same FCB Scola in Rio, we had one player that scored one of the lowest grades to be admitted in the school, and he ended up being one of the elite players. He was 2005 or 6, I don't remember now. But I remember he was very uncoordinated or incoordinated. I'm not sure the correct way now. Incoordinated or uncoordinated. And we developed him a lot. We stayed with him a lot of time, focusing on him, on body orientation, control, etc., etc. And he was evolving until the point we had no way other but to call him for the elite group, because he improved so much, and he was an entirely different player that even his parents were there thanking us for the development, etc. Right? And we get the respect from those people too, right? So connecting with Westlake's question here, what do you think would be the things that we should look for in players that are trying out for our club or our academy? I mean, try to focus this on maybe level 3 and 4, level 2 and 3, and level 1 and 2 maybe, right? The first level, the highest level, the mid level, and the lowest level. What do you have to look for in kids?
It's a complex question, okay? And this is my opinion, okay? I would like that everybody that is here listening understands that it is my opinion, and they don't have why to believe my opinion, okay? This is my opinion. Obviously, I trust in my opinion. If not, I would have another one. But it is just my opinion, and they will have to decide if some things that I am saying are interesting for them or not.
But it's important, Jordi. I'm sorry. It's important to say that it's your opinion because you've tested it and it worked for you, right? By your eyes, exactly. So people know it's his opinion because he tested and it worked, so he follows it.
No, exactly. And as more times it happens, more secure you are about your opinion.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
And even the way you communicate. But even with that, I'm so secure about how I understand a player. It's my opinion. Okay. For me, there is not, and this is the most important thing when you go to watch to scout. When you want to watch games, no, usually you scout in games. Is that there are two kinds of scouting. I would say now two. Okay, one is you just want to buy good players, okay, or you want to find a player that is specific in something that you want, that you need for your team. Okay, you want to, I don't know, you start academy and you need players and you want good players, or they come to your tryout and you want to decide the ones that you will sign, and then you have a team and you need a specific piece there so you can kill everybody. Okay, are two different ways. The second way, it will depend on what you are trying to find. If you need, I don't know, an offensive winger that runs to the space because I don't know, because you start from the beginning playing from your box and the team presses you many times and you need to have a solution to play direct, obviously, in a good way. And I'm not saying to shoot.
Yeah, a pass.
Imagine that everybody is pressing you, and you want to have that option. Okay, so you will have to find probably a fast player that dribbles pretty good to the space, that, well, depending on what you're needing. No, if you want to keep the possession but you don't have any midfielder with good techniques to control, to pass, probably you will need to find this kind of player if you want to control the game, okay, through the ball. Okay, it will depend on what you want, but in general, my opinion is that each player is unique. Carles Puyol, if you remember, the center back of Barca, was a top center back, but it was, let's say, in terms of football, absolutely opposite than Gerard Piqué. No, or I don't know, Sergio Busquets and Iniesta, both are top players, but so different. Okay, I think the most important is to be open to understand the different skills of each player. There are players that, for example, nowadays is like, it sounds bad to say that, no, but he's strong, and the strong players are not good because they resolve situations because they are strong. Well, but between the strong ones, there are some of them that are spectacularly strong, and it's also something positive, or can be something that makes difference in some situations. Okay, I'm not saying that those players have to play always 90 minutes of a game, but or yes, if those players are the best for your way to play, but don't say no because of something. For example, for me, the mentality, a player that is focused, that you see that loses a ball and starts running back, so strong and so fast, and they don't stop until they resolve the situation, or if they don't resolve the situation of their mistake, you see that they are angry with themselves because they made a mistake. That's a very good quality, a very good mental quality. And there are other players that are very good because they are always calm with the ball. Even if they lose passes, those passes make sense, and maybe they are losing because they are, I don't know, 8, and they still don't have the strength to make a pass of 20 meters or 20 yards, but you see that they understand everything. And then for me, the most important thing, okay, then the most important is not to be fixed in something, okay, unless you want to find something. But if it's in general, is to be open to understand that each player is different, okay, and that you can find extraordinary players or players with extraordinary potential, because when you are going to scout young players, you see potential. You don't see a player, you see potential, and then you as coach and the coaches that will come after you have to develop that player or help him to develop his skills. Okay, for me, the things that I'm usually, or that I like to focus more, is in the contacts, because in my opinion, everything in football is resolved with context. You can think well, you can understand perfect, but then because you understand perfect all the situations, You have to resolve the situations with a pass, with an oriented control that gives you the option to win a couple of seconds, no? With a dribbling, with a shooting, with everything are contacts. A control is the ball comes, no, and it's a contact you control. Shooting is a contact. Dribbling is a sequence of contacts. Obviously, you can use the head, but most of the actions you use the feet. You use feet. I think that the contacts are the most important things. Then, let's say, the contact, everything can be improved. Everything can be improved. But the players that whose contacts are soft, that you see that everything is natural, those players are, in my opinion, the hardest players to find. It's very hard to find. And if you have those players, don't worry if they are small. Don't worry if now you cannot have a good performance. Those players will grow as everybody will grow. Will be taller and smaller, but those players will be good. And if you give them the environment to feel comfortable, they will even be able to compete against stronger players. You understand? Because they won't make mistakes. They will feel secure. You need a big body when you have to use the body. But if you teach the player how to receive with the space, and then you pass them the confidence to control, to feel secure, to accept that they will make mistakes, and okay, that it's part of the process, you will see how those small players can play against bigger ones. So, in my opinion, it's not to be the summary, not to be closed in. Good players are this kind of players or those kind of players. There are good players of any type, and if you want to that I say a specific thing, my opinion are the contacts. The contacts are the most important, and you can see it in controls, and you can see in an easy way. You can see also in dribbling, but in controls, when the ball comes, how they control, and when there is a fault and they shoot. You know, sometimes you see super small and weak players that they shoot and they shoot super good. To be good, a good shooter is not because you are strong. It's because you use well your body. You put the feet in the perfect position. Okay, and those things are the most important for me. The contact.
I like to add to that, just so Lee has a little more perspective now on my side on that. 3 quick topics. When first you arrived at FCB Scola, Jordi, I got that from you that is registered in my mind. The first thing we did on the tryouts is the first thing you told me is to demand the highest intensity possible from every player executing every task, be that analytical, integrate, global, or systemic, right? Anything they're doing, if they're dribbling around cones, they have to be doing that as fast as possible. So we as coaches, when watching them, we have to be demanding from them the highest intensity possible, so we can see it's not to make them look bad, it's just so we can see where they can go, right? To what's their real level. So do that as fast as you can, so I can see how much finesse you've got on your technique in the highest intensity possible, right? So from that on, you can start recognizing the true potential out of players. And most of the times I saw that players in the same tryouts, they grew their level a little bit because nobody ever asked from them the highest intensity that they could deliver, right? So they grew a little bit and they showed a little bit more, and I was like, oh, just by demanding a little more, the player is showing a little more. So players are really trying to show us what they're capable of. Another topic, and I remember this very well, I had one player in my 2001 team, the team that I have the video on the compilation here on my channel that you guys can see. I had one player in that team that before I started coaching that team, Jordi told me, watch out for that player. He's very, very good. Very smart in maintaining possession and driving your team whatever you want. And I told Jordi before coaching that team, I told, I don't see that much. I don't see him that good on the ball or whatever. And I remember you said, oh, just wait for it or something. And after, I think, 2 or 3 weeks training him, I remember I sent you a message and told you, wow, that player is amazing. Because I was seeing exercise after exercise that he almost lost 0 balls. He many times lost 0 balls in an entire session. 0 balls lost in an entire session where I only use global or systemic exercises, so it's always on the ball. It's always something with maintaining possession against the opponent. And he managed to lose 0 balls in many trainings in a row. So then I was able to notice by training him what he was doing exactly and learning from his movements. I was learning as a coach. I was learning from his movements what were his ideas, and also I had to explain back to him because it was so natural to him that he didn't know that. Therefore, his confidence wasn't adapted to his actual skills. Let me rephrase that. He wasn't a confident player because he didn't know he was that good. So it's a very important job from coaches to make players aware of how good they are or where they are in the process of learning and improving, right? So when I recognized that in that player, I made sure after the exercise on the feedback to ask people, do you guys know who here lost 0 balls today in this session? And everyone was looking to each other like, 0 balls? No, I don't know. And I pointed to him, and even he didn't know that. So it's important that a coach is able to, again, potentialize what a player has good in him. So because it's always better to move the good up, right? To improve the good things up than to improve the bad things up. Why do you want to start on the bad things? Start on the good things, make people confident and reliable on themselves, right? So they can learn new things. And go on.
Feel people worthy that they have something different than the others. That's his thing, no?
Exactly.
And let me say one thing, Dimitri, that I think that it is important, because how you say it, maybe it looks like I kind of guru, and I'm a kind of guru, and I am not. When I at that point, or even nowadays, but that I could tell you, trust in me, this player will evolve a lot because of this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is because I learned that, okay?
Exactly.
And then going back to the questions of Lee Westlake, now maybe you are thinking, okay, this man is saying about the control, the first contact, no? And maybe it's a bad translating of from the Spanish to the English. I don't know, but it is something that I didn't learn in one thing. In one time, I was, I don't know, 70 games with my mentor Modesto, going to scout, being next to him, and each time that there was a fault, wait, we were talking. Wait, Jordi, 1 second. Look at the control, or a bad pass. Oh, he made a bad pass. The comment, he made a bad pass, but did you see how he tried to see? No, everything that he's doing makes sense. It's going back to the question, going back also to the main topic of this conversation, that is about mentor and mentees. You are with somebody that has the knowledge, and that knowledge is passed to you. For me to be able to pass how I understand that is a good player, we would need probably months watching games every weekend. I can teach you or anybody my way to understand, and even in a complete way. But then we would need time to analyze games or players.
Exactly.
If it could be possible to go to a field to watch players, it doesn't matter even the level of the games of the players. But it is important to understand that things are learned with time. Time is necessary for everybody. When I started training, I had success, but now I know that I didn't know anything. Yeah. And I've spoken with other coaches and the same. Or I said I played in the highest level in in Spain that is the high level in Catalonia. But now I know that when I was playing, I didn't know anything as a player, and I was competing, and I beat Espanyol playing, but I didn't know what I was doing. So everything needs time to be learned. Okay.
Exactly. Perfect. And the mentor is a very important picture in that sense of, because the mentee is always leveraging the mentor's time, because you had all this time with Modesto, learning from him, watching games, etc., and then you brought all this baggage, all that knowledge to me in our talks. So whenever I saw something, you brought something that you learned from him to me through you, through your words. So a mentor is a figure that brings a lot of knowledge with him to make you see different perspectives that will make shortcuts in your learning, right? Because of his experience.
Yeah.
And the third point I would like to mention here is that it was very important to know where to put players in the right environments, right? I remember we talked a lot about that. And for example, we had the elite teams, right? We had the elite team A, B, and C, for example, for 2003s or 2004s, for example. And we were arguing or discussing about we played on the 3-2-1, right? And we had two midfielders or three midfielders for Team A and only one midfielder for Team B. Which midfielder would we put on Team B? And you helped me a lot to understand the responsibility each player needed and the amount of minutes each player needed in each environment, the importance of the player to the overall of the team, so he could lead the team or not, and if that would be important for that player or not. So sometimes putting a level A player in a level B team can be very, very good, because that player is maybe he has the skills of the technical skills of a level A player, but he doesn't have the mental skills of a player yet, or he needs to be a little more of a leader to the team, so he has more importance in the A team, because other players in the A team have more of that psychological state, and he therefore would not be a leader here, and by his position or his skills, he needs to develop his leadership skills or etc. Right? So it's very important to know and to understand and to have the experience of doing it before, to know where to put players to get the most out of them on the long run, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I remember, and it is something that when you explain to the parents, you have problems, because all the parents want that that their children is in the A team, no, in what they understand. In what they understand is the best team, that it doesn't mean that it is the best team for their child.
Exactly.
Okay, and I learned that the first. Before I let me explain a little bit. It will be so short how I met Modesto. I met Modesto because my brother was one of the best players of his generation in my small town, and he was signed by a team, by the club where 3 years later, I think it was, I went to train. So the sports director, that we say the coordinator in Spain, that signed my brother was Modesto. That with the years was my mentor. And the first year, that club had that system. We in Spain have 7 aside and 11 aside. Okay. So the players from one year to the other, they go from 7 to 11. I think in the US you have 7, 9, 11. Or when I was working here 3 years ago, that was the system that you had. Mm-hmm. And I remember, for example, the under 12, they had two teams, the A team and the B team. Both teams of players born in the same year, because one team, 7-7, well, 10-10, the next year would make the 11-a-side team. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the 13, that was 11-a-side. My brother, the first year when he arrived, he went to the B team. And for us was something shocking because we were coming, or my brother was going, from the club of my town, where I started playing when I was a kid, and he started there too. And the fact to go to the B team for us was, wow, now my parents will have to drive 20, 25 minutes twice per week to go there, the effort to go there, to change their reality, everything for him, to go to the B team that is not the good team, because usually in the towns and in most of the clubs, the B team, okay, the good ones in the A team and the rest in the B and the C and the D, okay? But there I understood, well, finally he stayed there, and it was the best thing that it could have ever happened to him, to be in the B team, because in the B team he was leader. He and two more, one boy called Marco Antonio and another called David Alvaro, together with my brother Arnau, they were the best of the team. But my brother was the midfielder. They used to play two defenders, three midfielders, and one attacker. He was the central midfielder, so he was like the core of the team, and he evolved a lot. Even they played against, for example, Adama Traore, that I think now is in England playing. I remember Adama with 9 years playing against my brother of 11. So they beat against that team. And the A team, if he would have been in the A team, he would have been playing there. He would have been important too. But there was another player that nowadays is professional. He's playing in Second Division B, and some years ago he was playing in Second Division A, called Esteva. And Esteva, at that moment, was a little bit better than my brother. Let's say that my opinion, Esteva was a little bit better than my brother. My brother could have been in the A team and could have been playing there. But the fact of spending a whole season in the B team made him help him to develop a confidence, because he was the best player there, or one of the best players there. And the year after, when they were together, my brother and Esteva shared the two positions of the center of the field, and it was good for Esteva because he continued being the leader, for my brother because he developed a leadership, and for the team because the following year both midfielders, central midfielders, were players that were good players, were leaders. And what's the best team is not what's the best team. The question is, what's the best team for you, where you can develop your skills faster, better, where you can feel more secure, where you are desired, where in the moments of the game that the team will suffer, the coach won't think in changing you. The opposite, the coach will want you to be there. That's the most important thing for a player, to be where you can evolve. And the first year it was tough, but if you remember, Dimitri, the second year, when we moved some players from the A team to the B team, they were not as concerned, because there were also players that the previous year had been in the B team or even the C team that now were in the A team or in the B team. Okay, but everything is a process. And as coaches, we have to learn, and we need time, but parents also need time. The problem is that usually in football, there is no time, That's why Barca is so successful, or maybe other times in the history has been more successful in developing players, because has been patient and the club has focused, or the professionals of the club has focused in the quality, and it doesn't matter if they are small. Ricky Puig, for example, probably in any other club wouldn't have arrived to play some minutes in the first team, because he's too weak. He's so weak. But the fact that the Barca understands the football in the way that Barca understands, because of Cruyff and the example that Cruyff brought to the club, it makes that it happens. But it's not something exclusive of Barca. There are other clubs that, or any club of the world, can do the things in the same way and get the same benefits. And it is calm. It means time.
Perfect. I agree with that.
I don't know if I have explained it well. Sorry,
perfectly,
guys, for my English.
No, there's no problem in your English. We've been 1 hour and a half here now. I think I'm just gonna answer Aaron here quickly, Jordi, and I think we should move on to the next talk next week, maybe, right? It's been 90 minutes already, so we can do more of those, right? So we could just schedule another one.
No problem.
Let us know, you guys here in the chat, if this been useful to you guys. If you'd like to see more of this, this is number 1. We're going to do number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's great that you guys have been asking questions, because this is much better than our topics. Our topics are topics for you guys to come up with more topics. We want to talk about your questions. That's what's interesting. So Aaron, those 2 questions you have here, they are more of the coaching aspect. Okay, so I have more time for that in my channel in general, but I'm gonna answer you quickly here so we can get Jordi's opinion too. What's your opinion on unopposed technical training? I only use unopposed technical training if my players are not minimally skilled to do a rondo, a 4v1 rondo. Okay, so if I have players that cannot maintain their balance, they fall off on the ground after controlling or passing the ball, or they have no balance, they have no coordination, they cannot do a rondo, the rondo doesn't work with that kid, then I would do something unopposed. If that player can do a 4v1 rondo, I would forget about the unopposed and I would do the rondo. Okay, that's my aspect. Jordi, do you have an opinion on that, on unopposed technical training without the opposition?
I don't know if you are American or not. Okay, it is possible because of your name. When I arrived to the US, I noticed that here the individual skills are trained a lot. I discovered Corver, and at the beginning, I thought that it was so isolated from the context of football. No, it was something. Football is not individual; it's collective. But with the years that I was here, I was a little bit more than 3.5. I also realized that North American players, most of them are more than correct technically, and I think that I know that it is, things are not casualties. Things happen because of reasons, and I'm sure that the fact that you train so specifically, it helps you a lot, your players a lot. Another thing is if you have to train it all your life, because while you are training an opposed technical aspects, you are not training other things, and maybe there is one moment in the life of a player that they will improve more training other aspects than just the individual technique. Okay, so I think that it is important, but until a level of a player, and it is a little bit linked with what Dimitri said. If your player can work in a more global, in more global situations, okay, with interacting with other players, with opponents, with the rules in the exercise, and you can. I think it's better to train the technical aspects there, because you can also train technical aspects there inside a game context than to train individually. But when they are young, or as Dimitri said, they don't have the minimum level to do a rondo, that it's the most basic 4 against 1, not 3 against 1, 4 exactly, against 1 rondo. If you cannot resolve a 4 against 1 rondo, first learn how to control, go against a wall, I don't know, and pass to the wall, and when the ball comes back, control. I don't know, depending on what you need, okay? But if you can, I'm not saying that as a compliment until you are
exactly.
14, I don't know, you cannot do that. I think it's positive, and I've seen that in America it works, but if you can work in a context, I think it's always better.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, Jordi. Thanks for your opinion on that. I just compliment my opinion, Aaron. First, I have a post on that. It's called opposition. You can find it on my Instagram or Facebook. Okay. And another thing I'd say is what was it? You were saying about the rondo. Ah, geez, I always forget things.
Well, it will come later.
Yeah, it will comment later. I had something here and I don't have it anymore. Sorry. The other question from Aaron was, oh, okay. Sorry, I remember Aaron. It's not that. I'm saying on the perspective of the coach, right? If you should use time on your session as a coach, let's say you have 3 sessions, 1 hour and 15 minutes per session with your team. I wouldn't use unopposed technical training with your team in your sessions. But if you want to tell them to do some freestyle home or some technical skills home, I think that's great. Okay, as long as it doesn't use the time with the team that you have. What I think is wrong, okay, what I wouldn't do is use the time I have with my full team to train them separately from each other. No, if I have my full team in the field, I want to train all of them together, right? So that was the point I was going to make. And your next question is, how often do you change coaching topics for a team? Do you work on specific topics, example, passing and support for a month, or do you keep changing topics each week or each training session? I also talk about that on my posts, okay? And I have videos on that here on Facebook too, where I tell you how to plan week, okay? A week of sessions. So basically my idea is I grow from the most basic aspects of the game to the most complex aspects of the game. And as I grow, I'm always free to go back to something that they didn't understand and make it better again and grow again. So I'm always trying to adjust things and grow like a pyramid of concepts being well executed, so I can shape them, those behaviors, so they support one another. So I never move on to the next topic if the previous topic is not well developed yet. So whenever I'm going up, and I think this is minimally developed, so I can introduce the next one, I introduce the next one, I go on and on and on, but always coming back to the previous topics on the base of the pyramid, once in a while to remember them and to reinforce them if I see on the most specific concepts of my team they are not being very well developed. So I come back, I can put one session, I'm training my team to attack the middle, to bring the opponents out of the middle, to attack the middle and maintain possession in the middle, for example. I see that body orientation, for example, is going down because they've relaxed a little bit or whatever, right? So I can put a rondo in the beginning of this session, a 4v1 rondo again to reinforce the body orientation, or that's not the problem. The problem is that I don't know, there are some 5v4s, they're not understanding it, they're losing too much ball, so I can use a rondo that is a 5v4 and it changes or whatever. So I don't like to plan long term because I don't know how they're going to behave on the things I want them to do. So I just do it and see their response and then readapt to their response. So I like to plan week by week. Jordi, do you have any takes on that?
No, Josh, this last thing that you said, you have to know where you want to go, okay, and you must know what are the things that you have to teach the players, or you have to teach and they have to learn. But then don't be obsessed with the timings, okay? You don't know how they will evolve. And then there are like now Sakib Hussein said, microstructures are always better. Yes, I think that I don't know if the word structure is what I would use, but the word micro probably I would use. Okay, I think to have things structured in how people, because don't forget that players are people, learn how people learn. To have this kind of thing structured, I think is one of the problems of the educational systems of the countries, in my opinion. Okay, so don't try to don't bring the back things to the football. I think that to divide everything small, and build a structure of those small things. I think this is a mistake, but again, it's my opinion. But just one thing, Aaron. Here you said passing and support. There are things, concepts that are core concepts. If your players are not, they don't know how to control, pass, and offer supports, you cannot work on the things in a global way, because any global situation will be resolved with control,
Exactly.
minimum with controls, passes, and supports. Then, if you have a space, you will have to dribble probably if you want to attack to the opponent. If you just want to keep the possession, it's possible just to keep the possession with control, passing, and supports. Okay, unless the defending team is so good that you are forced to dribble something because you don't find any option. But there are things that have to be clear always. And if you are working anything that you are working in a global structured exercise, and you have to correct a supporting bad positioning, my advice or my way to understand is that you have to do it, because if not, you will never improve the other things. Let's put an example that you will understand for sure. I think we as human, we can have problems in the nails. No, this is a nail.
Mm-hmm.
Dimitri.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can have. Thank you. We can have problems in the nails, or we can have problems in the heart. If we have problems in the heart, first we have to resolve these problems. We have to be sure that the heart is working, because if we resolve this without the heart working well, maybe we die, no? Or maybe we have to go back here, and once we are improving the nail will turn worse again, because we have an emergency here, no, in the heart. In football, there are things, and the example that you put, that is control, passing, and support. I think that is a basic content, a core content, and you have to be sure that your players understand and apply what they understand always.
I agree with that. And I think to sum it up, we are always building something in the base of something. We build one layer, then we build the next layer, then the next layer, and the next layer, and we are always open to readjust whatever happens in this process, because we don't know. So I think a big planning of the season is a mistake on its own, because you don't know how people are going to behave. You don't know the emotional problems they're going to have throughout the season, the psychology behind all of that. You don't know what's going to happen in the next session, so you don't know if one player is going to get mad to another one, so you don't know. You have to take all of those things as they come. So a coach has to always be ready to readjust things and start things from that point, right? I think we can wrap it up here, right? Jordi, I'll let you say anything you have to say for last. Thank you very much for being here with us in this more than hour and a half already, almost 2 hours. This was very enriching, if that word exists. I think it does. Enriching for me and for everyone here listening. People are thanking us. Aaron is thanking us. Sakib too. Ev, Louis, it's Seth, right? It's Seth too. Lee too thanked us. So guys, thank you very much for coming, for your topics. I think this conversation was great. Again, this is just Mentor Talks number 1. So expect this to grow until 1,000. That's my goal. Follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm putting new content every day. All I care about is coaches getting better at coaching. So follow me for great content and keep in touch with me. Send questions, send topics. I always like to talk to you guys, to know what you guys want to know more about, need help with, so we can help you guys. Jordi, any last things?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to your channels, to your channel. It's been a great experience. I would also like to thank to all the people that has been here listening us and that has been part of the conversation with their questions. I think that it's been much better answering their questions than the questions that we had prepared to have like a guidance, no, to develop the conversation. I think that it's been so good. For all the people, your followers that are starting to know you and who you are and what you can help them with, and for you guys, just I can just have good words for Dimitri. In all the aspects, he's an extraordinary person, an extraordinary professional, a person that understands the world in my opinion, in a good way. I could say that he's my mentor in some aspects too. That's the truth, and you know that, you know that. And I think that I think it was 2-3 days ago that we talk by WhatsApp, and I sent you a message that I said, listen, what you're doing is so good because it's something that usually you cannot learn. You go to the school of coaches and you learn theory, and you go. You have a conversation with somebody and you discuss about tactical concept or football concept. You read a book, the same. And I think that the way that you are passing your knowledge or trying to teach your followers is in a very practical way. Remember, I think I said it before, no? 2 weekends ago or last weekend that I was walking. I went to walk and I was watching your webinar, no? And I think that even I commented something. Mm-hmm. You were explaining, no, since you arrive and your players arrive, how to put them in a circle so everybody can see you, so you can reduce their distractions and all those things that I passed you all. I'm not saying just you, all the coaches that we had there, mm-hmm. But those things you usually don't learn. Those things are basic to help your players to feel that they have somebody in front of them that really knows what is doing, and therefore they listen more, and because everything is well structured in terms of positioning and who is the leader there and who passes the knowledge, and it helps them to learn more. And I think that those things that you are teaching in your channel are very good, are very good, and I suggest you all guys that use this person that suddenly has appeared in your life here in this channel. It's true. I think that it's not common to find a person like you, Dimitri, in the world of football. And well, I invite you to continue following him. Obviously, I think that you have to continue bringing this value that you are doing. If you want to grow, you have to continue doing things as you are doing. And for the rest of the and another thing that I would like to say is that as coaches, your main goal has to be, or my opinion is that your main goal has to be that your players improve as much as you can. Okay. Obviously, you are the leader of a group. A group will have always a leader. And if you are not the leader, one player will be the leader, or 2 players will be the leaders, or a father or a mother will be the leaders, and you are the one that has to be the leader. Okay? And sometimes you will have to say, no, this is not good. And sometimes you will have to say no now because you are not paying attention, or because you did that, or because anything. Now you won't have it again. I don't know. You will have to take decisions that won't be kind for your players or for the people that are looking from an outside perspective. But if you have clear that what you are doing is to help your players, do it. Okay, do it. And if then, with the time, you see that you made a mistake, no problem. Everybody makes mistakes. Apologize in front of the players. Say, I've done it. I've done it. And I think that it has helped me to win credibility towards my players. Okay? If you made a mistake, nothing happens to recognize that mistake. Okay? So focus in the players. And again, I think that what you have here with your new friend Dimitri is something unique, and you are lucky people to be here.
Jordi, thank you very much for your words, your reasoning, your time to be here with us and share your knowledge, and show people that what you did to all of us in Rio, which was to mentor us towards this way of coaching, right, is exactly what I'm trying to do with people right now. And there are not much people trying to do that. Again, they're always discussing numbers and movements from players, etc.
Exactly.
And I came up with that idea because I saw people doing that, and I was like, okay, but you're all talking numbers, but people don't know how to coach yet, right? They don't know how to be there in front of the players and say something and set up an exercise and think of a session. So then you can move to the numbers and move the pieces on the board, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's very important. And I think more and more people are going to see the value behind it. I hope so, because we all did see the value behind what you were teaching us in Rio. And we know, all of us that went through that process of being your mentees know the value behind it. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here. Stay tuned for the next events, Mentor Talks #2, and next webinars and my next videos too. Send me messages, send me questions, send me whatever you want to send me guys, let's talk. I'm very open to talk to everyone. You have my email there. Try not to send me messages to my personal Facebook, because I have the pages, so I'll answer you through all the other channels on the Soccer Excellence Mentor. I will answer you there. Okay? Jordi, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Everyone here present.
You as well.
Thank you very much. You guys have a nice day too. Bye-bye.